Hey pen people, Brian here, and this is a TWSBI Dip Pen. Now I know what you're probably thinking. TWSBI doesn't make dip pens, right? Well, I have one. This is, as far as I know, the only TWSBI Dip Pen like this in the whole world. The reason for that is because I made it. You probably were guessing that. And no, as far as I know, TWSBI does not make dip pens, but I made a TWSBI Dip Pen. So in this video, I want to tell you why I made this and how you can make one if you want to. It doesn't have to be a TWSBI nib. It can be a couple of different things actually. So we'll talk about that. But first, why did I decide to do this? Well, it all started with me browsing pen shops online, as one does, looking at different pens, reading pen reviews for pens I had no intention of buying, as one does, and I found myself looking at Pilot's relatively new dip pens that they just came out with. It's basically just a Pilot Metropolitan nib on a stick, but they look nice, and I've heard they are nice. So I was reading reviews, and one review caught my eye. The review said something like, yeah, this is a nice dip pen, but you can also just make your own. All you need is a number 5 fountain pen nib and some kind of dip pen holder, nib holder thing. I don't know what you call this, but the thing you hold on to when it's a dip pen. So after I read that review, I started thinking, aren't TWSBI Eco nibs number 5 nibs? Pretty sure they are. And it just so happens I have 2 TWSBI Ecos that are lying around because they're cracked. I can't use them. So I have these pretty nice nibs just sitting there, useless. So I decided to give this a try. Now, let me warn you, before you pull a nib out of a perfectly good TWSBI Eco, or really any pen for that matter, please be careful. I'm pretty sure the reason why my Ecos cracked in the first place is because I'm a tinkerer and I was always pulling nibs in and out of everything. And so I think that the pressure of pulling the nib in and out constantly eventually cracked the barrel. I think it's my fault. So if you're gonna take a nib out of a perfectly good pen, just be careful, especially if it's something a little more delicate like a TWSBI Eco. But like I said, it does not have to be a TWSBI nib. I've actually had success doing this with a Kaweco nib. It is also, as far as I know, a number 5 nib. I also tried this with a Pilot Metropolitan nib and it did not work. It's a very similar size nib, but it's a little bit of a different shape. And I think the metal might be a little thicker or something. Anyway, I couldn't really get it in there. So I didn't have success with Pilot, but TWSBI, Kaweco, I'm sure there are a million others you can try as well. So just see what you have lying around. And again, if you just have a simple nib holder for a dip pen, it should work. And all you have to do is just take your nib and just slide it in there until it feels like it's secure. Just like that. Now, you might be wondering, why would I want a dip pen? I already have fountain pens that you don't have to refill every 5 words. Why would I want to have a dip pen? Well, that's a good question. One answer is that these are nice for testing new inks. If you're doing ink swatches or you just want to see how an ink behaves on a certain kind of paper, dip pens are really handy to have around. Another thing I really like about dip pens is that they kind of force you to slow down while you're writing. So it's kind of nice to try writing a letter with a dip pen or doing a journal entry with a dip pen just to see what happens. No, it's not as convenient as a fountain pen, but that's kind of the point. The extra step of having to constantly dip your pen makes you slow down. It makes the process more methodical. And it's kind of fun to just kind of change it up every once in a while. Another thing that's really nice about a dip pen like this is all you have to do to clean it is just wipe it off. Maybe swish it in a little water. So if you're not sure yet if you want to commit to an ink for a full fill of a fountain pen, that was a mouthful, full fill of a fountain pen. Anyway, if you're not sure you want to commit to it, try the dip pen and just see what you think. And even though you're just dipping the bare nib without a feed into the ink and then writing, I'm kind of surprised how much you can get out onto the paper. Sometimes, I could be wrong, but I think it can be a couple lines sometimes before I have to dip again. So that's kind of cool. Okay, really quick, let's flip the camera and take a look at a writing sample. All right, whoa, that was too far. Okay, here is my trusty dot grid Rhodia pad thingy. I've got my TWSBI Dip Pen here, and I have Anderillium Viceroy Butterfly Orange. Really pretty orange ink. I actually have a whole video about their fairly new Lepidopteran series. It's 8 inks, all based on butterflies and moths. Very pretty stuff if you want to go check that out. Okie dokie, here we go. Maybe, oh, there we go. Okay, there we have it. So I decided to see how far I could go without re-dipping my pen. And as you can see here, I did the whole little writing sample on one dip. It started to get a little faint there at the end, but not too bad. So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's usable as far as dip pens go, I think. All right, so it says, under the sea and out to the stars we go. And this is by the poet Carl Sandburg, a 20th century poet, one of my favorites. And I just love this quote from his poem, Leather Leggings is the name of the poem, apparently. I'm looking it up in my notebook where I wrote this quote down. I have no idea what the poem's about, but I really like this little excerpt. It makes me think of science fiction. I'm kind of a science fiction nerd a little bit, and I just love the idea of exploration and discovery and finding new things. And that's what this makes me think of. Under the sea and out to the stars we go. So yeah, fun little quote there. Okay, and just to sum up, I really do love having this nib as a dip pen because it's a nice nib. It's super smooth. It's a lot better than a lot of those, you know, cheap dip pen nibs out there. It's really nice. So it's kind of fun to have this dip pen that I made myself that writes super, super well. If you try this hack, I'm interested to know how it goes for you, what nib works for you, what kind of nib holder are you using, all that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you later.